I have got a plan. I've got a plan. I've got a freaking vision, the likes of which I'm gonna bring to a realized reality over the period of the next probably, well, it's gonna be a little bit of a drive before I get to the gym, but probably an hour and a half or so once I actually get in there. And that will be composed of hamstring annihilation and and what I would go so far as to say would be a quad genocide. No holds barred. Pure pure prejudice against my lower body today. So, movement wise, I mean, what else is there, Hamstring curls, RDLs, which I haven't loved them, but or no, I mean, historically I haven't, but I've really fucking liked the Smith machine RDLs. I don't know if something just clicks for me, but maybe I'm having a second coming of my mind muscle connection eureka moments. The first time you ever do an incline barbell bench and you actually feel that you're pushing with your chest and not your hands, like I'm talking that level sort of stuff. So maybe I kind of felt that late stage with hamstrings. But yeah, hamstring curls, be it seated or laying. The only reason I haven't been doing a lot of seated is this gym, which is the one I've been going to basically primarily for all my leg days, because leg extensions plus leg pressing machines, this gym has everything that I want. I don't really love the seated hamstring curl. And it might just be the seat. I feel like the strength curve was a little funny last time I tried it. But maybe the fact that I don't really remember should be my cue to actually give it at least a few feeler reps today. But hamstring curls, RDLs, that's all. I mean, there's nothing else. That's all hamstrings is going to be. And then the actual real workout, the quad portion, can begin. And that's where leg extensions will be the focus in the beginning. Probably two, potentially get into the 3 set range. I mean, I've said this before, but this is a leg day. Of course, I'm going to get into legs. Squatting or doing any pressing after having done a few sets of hard working leg extension sets, dude, I can't be I can't be adamant about it enough. In my mind, especially in my, perhaps more ego liftery mind, that seems counterintuitive. Because I would think, okay, I'm about to do leg pressing. I want to start with leg pressing so I'm fresh. I don't want to. Why would I do leg extensions beforehand? That's just going to tire me out and weaken me, dude. Not even a fucking little. I'm still squatting like the nearly 500, mid 500 pounds on the barbell after a few hard sets of leg extensions. It doesn't do the kind of damage that like hard, heavy pressing does, or at least I haven't noticed it. So I'm not concerned. Plus, the feeling of pressing after having already gotten like some serious activation from the leg extensions, plus my knees are extra warm. It's incomparable. I'm never going back for sure. So leg extensions to start, those pretty much serving the purpose of, I mean, they're not warm-up sets. They are hard working sets, which I contribute to the overall like workload of the lift. But they kind of do act as warm-ups. If you're ever in a rush, I feel like I mean, I definitely do this. Like if I'm actually in a rush, or I've got to finish this workout in like 45 minutes, like there's no question about it, I gotta leave. What I end up doing is I start with lighter squeezing sets because then I don't have to warm up as much to get into them. If I'm rushed for an arm day, I'm not going to sit there for 10 minutes and gradually warm up to like doing a really heavy push down. I can pretty much just start with like the 20s on like a single arm push down, really do some squeezing burning reps like that, and then the amount of warm up required for a light squeezing set, not as intense. I'm not going to rip my tricep off doing 20-pound single arm extensions. So that's something where sometimes your workout can be kind of guided a little bit by your time frame. If I've got as much time as I want, like a full 2 hours, I mean, I've got nothing to do after this. It's 7:50. I've got all the time in the world. Then I can spend my time and take a little bit extra to warm up. But if I was on a little bit more of a crunch, then starting with lighter squeezing sets before getting into your heavier work. Not a bad move. But after that, leg extension sets, or the few leg extension sets, I'm not sure. Not exactly sure what I want to do next. But definitely some fucking reasonably heavy pressing. It's kind of a toss up right now between that like machine hip press or the Smith machine squat. I'm kind of chilling on barbell squats, and not because I don't like them, but they're just fucking kind of dangerous, you know. And let me explain. So at this gym, for me to do barbell squats with safeties, that means I have to go to like the back power racks, where the racks are a little bit too narrow, you know. So usually, if I've got a barbell sitting in front of me and I'm about to squat, I like a really wide hand grip. Like I like basically grabbing at the collars, you know, pretty much as far out as the barbell goes. So if I have to like squeeze my hands in an extra 6 inches on either side, that's just a lot of fucking. I mean, I gotta sit there and stretch out, loosen up my chest before I get under that weight. So for me to do it on the Smith machine instead, I can put my hands exactly where I want them to be. Plus, when I fail, I do have safeties right there. I'm kind of leaning towards the Smith machine squat for a while now. And that's not because I think the Smith machine squat is now the superior movement. It just kind of matches my training style. You know, I want to do some more volume for pressing. So taking out any kind of extra stabilizers in my lower back and my fucking glutes and everything else, and being able to do a more quad focused movement. Because I'm not going to speak for everybody, but at least for me, I can really fucking focus more on my quads on Smith machine squats than I can on barbell squats. Just because, I mean, it's not a simpler movement, but it's more constrained. You know, when I'm doing a barbell squat, I have to worry about fucking moving forward, backward, side to side, like even a little bit of twisting action. There's a lot of stabilizers involved, which is a good attribute for them because you recruit a lot of fucking muscle. But purely in a quad isolating kind of perspective, the fact that the Smith machine can load my fucking legs in this very similar way, nearly exactly, but it kind of keeps some of those stabilizers out of the equation, makes it a little more appealing. But don't worry, Smith machine squats are not, you know, the new replacement of barbell. But I think I'm going to chill on barbell for a little while, just because it's going to be way easier for me to like do my my fifth set of heavy pressing on the Smith machine than it would be with a free barbell. I feel like I just fucking fall over. But yeah, I mean, I said this in the last leg day and the one before it. That hip press is sick. It's literally all quads. I mean, the reason I have such a, I don't know if you know this, I've kind of got a little bit of a, not a vendetta. That's not the right word at all. But I'm not a massive leg press fan. You know, like the classic sled hammer strength leg press. You know, like the one that is at every Planet Fitness. I just don't like it now. I used to do it a ton when I was younger. I would load up. I think the heaviest set of leg press that I ever did was I put like 13 plates onto it. I really wish I had video of me doing that set. I can guarantee I was not doing like awesome reps. I felt pretty cool, but no, it was. I'd be surprised if I was even getting close to 90 degrees on my knees. But you know, I used to do them for a while, but ever since I kind of get the squat bug, as it were, I'm just not a fan. You know, just I feel so much glutes, since that's not my deal. Now, if that's your mo, if that's your primary directive to get some bigger glutes, then go for it. But you're never going to catch me doing hip thrusts. You're never going to catch me doing kickbacks. I just don't need it, you know. So that's pretty much the gist there. And then one more thing I wanted to say about the hip press that I really love is the fact that I don't feel like I'm going to shit my pants. I've only had a few. Well, I could count on one hand the amount of like close calls I've had on heavy pressing where I thought I was going to have to go to the bathroom and deal with something. Now, a few have been on just regular squats, and that's not squat's fault. That's just, you know, I should have gone to the bathroom beforehand. But there's I think it's the Nautilus kind of pendulum leg press where the pad kind of moves up and down and the weight If you don't, it's kind of hard to describe. But I used to do that machine a lot too. And oh my goodness. The amount of abdominal pressure from those machines is just fucking wild. But the hip press, it's crazy how much it just isolates my quads. No glutes, no nothing. I hardly even feel like I'm bracing too bad. Because like on a regular hammer strength leg press where the sled's moving up and down, I feel like it's gonna pop my fucking internal cavity because of all the pressure from my quads being like forced out on my stomach. But that's pretty much the rundown. Either way, fast forward however long this workout takes, I know I'm gonna be able to sit down with a sick leg pump and say, yippee, we're done. Let's get it started. I think some alternating single reps or single-sided reps will be perfect. Okay. Oh. One more like that. It's okay. All right. Let's do some double leg sets now. Woo. This will be a heavy, nasty set. Potential for a drop set, but I'll decide. Oh my God. Oh. One more. Whew. No drop set, no nothing. And then already else. Whew. So, that was incredibly contrasting, the first two sets. And the first two were reasonably good, or not good, reasonably slow, controlled. You know, I didn't hold it for like a whole second at the top, but you know, I think those are kind of the two extremes, you know. Nastier, heavy loading sets, really biasing tension, and then lighter squeezing sets, really focusing on the burn. I mean, ketchup and mustard, that's a good pair. I think this is pretty good too. But one more, then RDLs. Okay. Let's go to the Smith machine. Woo. All right, I lied. Smith machine is taken, but not for much longer. So this will be a controlled, squeezing, nasty kind of really torturous set. I don't need these extra pins up here, but by the time I move on to RDLs, my hamstring are gonna be really fucking cooked. All right. Okay. Oh my goodness. Yeah, now let's move on. I've got my little steppy stool. Because this Smith machine doesn't, with a barbell, if you're doing RDLs, you can take the bar all the way down to the ground. But the safeties on the Smith machine, it kind of stops like an extra foot above there. So if I want a good stretch, I kind of have to stand on a little something extra. But come on. Don't be limited by your equipment, right? Make little adjustments if necessary. But only 2 plates. I think I might be going overkill trying to do like 3 plate RDLs, at least right now, because my hip hinging strength, like I'm strong. I mean, I don't know how much I could pull. I wouldn't want to find out. But really just feeling my hamstrings. I think anything above 2 plates, I'm just getting into glute and lower back range. Because you got to remember, I'm doing a deadlift. All I'm doing is, right, fucking posterior chain out the wazoo. But I'm trying to keep my lower back and my glutes completely relaxed. Or at least relaxed enough to like keep my back stiff and everything, but make hamstrings the primary driver. It's like if you're doing I don't know, I can't think of an example, but whatever. Hamstrings only, trying to squeeze them. I'll explain RDL form at the end. It's kind of tricky, but let's just get in the zone for this one. Oh my god. Oh. Whew. So, what I mean when I say RDL form is tricky, the form itself is whatever. Bend over, stand up. But to really just feel your hamstring squeeze, that's the hard part. That's where, like, I could grab a fucking baseball bat and give it a swing, but I don't know what I'm doing compared to a fucking, MLB home run hitter. So in terms of RDLs, I kind of feel like I'm imagining pulling my knees together and backwards, as well as like trying to like not flex, but like sort of pull my butt together. It's real tricky, but eventually you'll get the feel for it. One more, and I think that's enough. Hamstrings got their fucking, let's just say they got their lesson today so far. Oh yeah. Oh. Holy crap. Ooh. Yeah, that's enough there. Let's move on to the leg extension. Go from there. Time to shift gears from hams to quads. Not gonna go too heavy. Not gonna go too heavy on these. For one, if I go too heavy on leg extensions, I start making my knees a little bit tender, which is kind of fucking anti-productive. I mean, the whole point of starting leg extensions, apart from like I like it as a starter, is to get my knees warm. So if I make my knees more tender from doing them, that's like warming up and making your elbows hurt more. You know, silly. So instead of trying to do like the whole stack single leg and be a bit more moderate, this is a way that can actually move around and work with. But since it's on the relatively lighter side of things, if I just sat here and pumped out reps, I could probably get like, I don't know, maybe 30 or something on either side. So to make it harder, I think I'm gonna do it like such. Slow reps for the beginning. I'm gonna do 5 reps on the left, 5 on the right, 5 on the left, 5 on the right. I'm gonna make the first few iterations of that slow, try to hold it even for a second, then come back down. And as I get weaker, I might make the reps a little bit more abrupt and kind of burn out that way. But we'll decide where to go from there after this. So I'm still gonna sit here, but the set may change. Yeah, man. Okay, I lied. Let's change it. I may have underestimated my strength a little bit. Let's go a little heavier on this next one. Oh, goodness. These reps are going to be nasty off the rip. One more little notch. Okay. One more. And then I'm gonna start the pendulum fucking leg press. Or hip press rather. Alright. I'm gonna change it up actually. Instead of another single leg alternating set like that, I haven't done this early in a leg day before. So half of me is just like, I'm kind of curious. But I ended up calling this a Jekyll and Hyde kind of set. It starts out nice. Lightweight. I mean, I was just doing 190 single leg. Now I'm doing 100 double leg. So the first portion of the set, slow, controlled, squeeze, hold it for a second. Right, everything like fucking to the book, textbook style. And then after like 15, 20 reps like that, which ends up serving as a really good, just nasty pre-exhaustion, I rack it, slap the fucking stack on, and then just burn out with nasty reps. So, of course, not scientifically studied or third-party tested, proven, but I know this is a good set, for me at least. Okay, a little heavier. 120. Still super light. And I need a better sock. Come on. There we go. Okay. Oh my god. That was perfect. Okay. Let's go do some pendulum press, goddammit. Oh. Looks like 8 plates is all I can manage. I did a couple feeler reps, eased my way up to it. Even though my quads are warm from leg extensions, I wouldn't just go to my max weight off the rip. That's like going on to fucking 5-plate squats out of nowhere. You know, it's just not a, wouldn't make sense. But 8 big ones, I can pick a song, get hyped up, make this a nasty one, and then just fucking repeat. I don't mind camping out here for as long as it feels good. Crap. Nature called. That's even when my phone's on Do Not Disturb, that's one that I have to answer. So it was an extra 3 minutes of rest, pretty much. I've got no reason not to get 20 fucking reps. All I gotta do is match it with a badass song and get to business. Oh. Oh. Nice. I was planning on doing a few sets of this and then moving on to the Smith machine for some Smith machine squats. But I'm not so sure. I might just want to hang out here for as long as possible. And by that, I mean as long as necessary. You know, I don't think I'm going to get any more quad stimulation if I try to do 20 sets. Nor do I think I could do 20 sets with this weight. But small handful more, and then we can go from there. Oh, goddamn. I was kind of hoping I could get 9 plates, but 8'll do the trick. Shite. Few more. God damn. One second. The set's not over. Okay. Oh my God. One more. Holy crap. I'll do a drop set if necessary. Oh, shit. Whew. I'm not done. Make it a rest pause. Ugh. Okay. Oh, okay. I think that's enough. Let's go do a set of leg extensions. Superset it with sissy squats. And then legs are fucking complete. Whew. Now, of course, I'm fucking out of breath. But, and any Renaissance periodization fans would like this, the stimulus to fatigue ratio on this movement is pretty cool. Like, my lower back isn't destroyed, like from squats. And I don't have to get a crazy brace every rep like I do on hacks or Smith squats. It's really all just fucking quad destruction. Let's move on. Oh my God. I just took a few minutes sitting on this fucking machine because the pin was like, for whatever reason, jammed into the stack. But I've got a human mind. I've got a capable fucking cerebral fucking cortex and everything else where I can problem solve, look at the situation and say, I gotta pop that mofo out. So that's just a fancy way of saying I smacked the shit out of it with a 5-pound plate, but fixed. So now I'm gonna do a moderate weight, slow, controlled squeezing, only 100 pounds for double leg. And then once I kind of feel like I've done enough initial damage in the pre-exhaustion portion, then I can run over to the side, sissy squat, burn out, pose down and go home. I'm fucking exhausted from those leg press sets. And this is light enough, I don't need to belt in. Now all you gotta do is hit play. All right. Okay. Oh. Let's go find some fucking prime real estate for the mirror. Holy. All right. Let's do some fucking analyzing. Let's see how we're looking. So, in terms of subjective feeling of fatigue, yeah, my quads are, I don't even think thrashed is a good enough word. They're wrecked. So, let's just take a gander at the damage and then get ready to get in the car and go home. I am gonna sleep like a fucking rock. Not that I don't usually, but after a leg day like today, I can guarantee it. Come on. Come on, get the fuck off me. There we go. All right, so you tell me. Oh, still gonna be veiny for probably another couple of fucking weeks. Or, I mean, honestly, probably months even. Because even when I bulk up, I never get too soft. Ugh. Like, to the point where even now, when I do my morning cardio, like, I'm sitting here sideways. Oh, you can even see a couple of these, like, kind of cross the quad into the hamstring veins. Let me try to do a little breath hold and really pop them out. Yeah, a little bit. They're subtle. That's the kind of stuff that would seriously come out into play during, you know, if I were to take this last dieting phase, like another for another month to maybe 6 weeks, then the freak factor would really be fucking maxed out. But let's get in the car, man. We're done. That hip press, those sets of hip press did some damage. I think that's a pretty accurate way to fucking put it. Some time has passed. Some time has fucking passed. I've been sitting in the car just chilling for a fucking minute. Gotta regain my bearings on the world. You know, there's something special. How about sitting in the car after actually doing a real good leg day and pushing it, you know? And don't let me fucking make it seem easy, dude. A hard leg day is fucking hard. You know, if I when I do a set of like hard pressing or like really hard lat pull downs or like tricep push downs, you know, like I'm going hard, but it's not so taxing on like my whole system. And I'm excited to do it. You know, I'm real excited to do a set of fucking, you know, cable flies to failure and uh, on rare occasion like the burn of lateral raises. But I mean, I'd be lying if I told you that I wasn't like a little bit daunted by those sets of leg press because they're just hard. Real, like hard pressing like that, sub, 10 reps to failure. Like you're actually working with a serious weight. Dude, those sets are fucking hard. I mean, as much as I dog on everybody for not doing their leg days and wanting to skip it, and not doing their squats and everything else, like I can understand it. I can wrap my head around why you wouldn't want to do it. It is pretty fucking uncomfortable. But that's the benefit. That's the cool part. I may I don't necessarily think I have a favorite muscle group to train. It's just every lift has its own benefits and drawbacks. Like the feeling of a fucking back pump at the end of it and doing pull downs and rows and everything else. Like I like it. And it's way different than, how chest feels or arms or anything else. It's all just got different benefits. At the end of a chest day, my entire fucking torso is pretty much fully pumped. I've said this a couple times because from doing anything fly based, I'm getting some forearms, some biceps, shoulders, fucking chest, of course. And my triceps are getting worse from actually doing the pushing. When I get to fucking check myself out in the mirror after a chest day, I pretty much have a full torso pump. I mean, it's just fucking wild. Now, that's kind of the cool part. Plus, it's pretty enjoyable throughout as well. I'm never, like, totally dying during a chest day like I am on a leg day. But the benefit and the kind of cool part of a leg day is once you actually finish it, you get a pretty strong "I did it" because you know it was hard. When you do something which you know is difficult, and like you're not just saying that because you're lazy, like you know, like okay, this is a challenge. Right? I'm gonna stand up to it, face it, go hard, take it, come out stronger at the end. So that's kind of the cool part of legs. I never finish an arm day. I mean, I do, but I never finish an arm day like, wow, that was the hardest arm day ever. Like that workout was so challenging to get through, because it is just arms. It's a pretty small muscle group. I'm never gonna be like heaving, trying to catch my breath on arms. Whereas legs, much more common, much more freaking common. It's very late. It's been like 3 hours. I was not lifting for 3 hours, of course. I spent like 20 minutes warming up, setting all my stuff down. Then in between hamstrings and quads, there's like another basically 15-minute warm up period because I got to get my quads warm and my knees warm again. And then after that lift, plus having the kind of longer rest periods from actually having to catch my breath from the really hard leg sets, the actual workout itself was closer to probably about 2 hours ish, with some chatting in the beginning and a lot of chatting at the end. And I hear this a lot. It's like, dude, if you're in the gym for more than an hour and a half, it's because it's because you're not training hard enough. You're not going that hard. It's because you don't have, you're training too soft. But with like something like legs, it's just so long. I mean, there's so many sets to actually fucking do. It's just gonna take longer. Now, if you're doing a chest day, if you've got chest where it's just one fucking muscle group, I mean, I can finish a chest day in 30 minutes. That's not too crazy because by the time I've done 7 or 8 sets, that's all. But with legs, especially, it's a bit longer, a bit more daunting, just because I got to warm up my hamstrings, I got to warm up my calves, I got to actually finish a whole hamstring workout, and then after that's over, I've got to pretty much repeat the warm up process, warm up my quads, actually start. My rest periods are much longer in between those sets of, that pendulum hip press because, dude, I'm in severe oxygen debt after those sets. After a set of bicep curls, how much oxygen did those bicep curls really take out of me? So I can catch my breath pretty easily. Whereas with legs, I mean, it's literally the biggest muscle on your frame. It's going to take longer to recover. So don't be uh, don't be too turned away from the fact that you can be in the gym for a while if your lift is just it literally takes a while. I only did what was that, like 7, 4, yeah, yeah. Only 7 sets of hamstrings and 8 sets of quads. I mean, that's not crazy. But the fact that I've got like 3-minute rest periods in between, that's the part that kind of adds to the actual length of the lift. But that's where I'm like, dude, okay, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, if I'm sitting in here trying to do 20 sets of quads and 20 sets of hamstrings, yeah, that's probably overkill. I'm probably not training that hard, and those sets are probably a little bit fluffy because if you really did 20 actual nasty hard ass sets, uh, I mean, let's just say your fatigue would probably be more than overkill for actual muscle growth. I've gotten into this a few times. If you do 0 sets, you're going to make 0 gains. But if you do 100 sets, then that's probably too much. You're probably doing more damage than you're going to recover from. That's counterproductive. So I would say that's 0 gains as well. So somewhere in the middle of this fucking graph, starting at 0 gains, it hits a peak, and then it diminishes down to 0 gains again. So what that tells me is somewhere is the sweet spot. And that depends on the day and how rested you are, and just, I mean, who you are too, how well you can handle training. So that's why I'm not so concerned about like hitting a specific number of sets per lift, because the amount of sets that I really need every lift it's going to change day by day based on all my outside factors as well. You know, if I've got a day where I'm legitimately fatigued to the point where I think I should probably take a rest day, then I would think, okay, on that day, if I want to make the most gains and contribute towards my long-term progress, then I should do 0 sets because I'm still in recovery from the workouts that I've done previously throughout the week. So sometimes 0 sets is the right move for that day. Whereas if you're nice and well rested, you're seriously carved up and fed, you're in a bulking state, you're really hydrated, pretty much every I is dotted and every T is crossed in terms of prepping yourself for the workout, then go hard, man. Do 10 sets, do fucking 12, as long as you can tell that the work you're doing is contributing towards that, which is kind of hard to describe exactly. But what I would basically say is like the feeling of having finished a solid, stimulating, and fatiguing workout, then go for it. And the real test, the real actually fucking proof of whether what you're doing is working or not is if you're making gains. If you're growing, who cares what anybody else says about your training? You're making progress. What you're doing right now is working. The issue is once you're not making progress, you need to rewire, you need to somehow change the system. You got to change the stimulus, right? If you fucking, if you can, what am I thinking here? I keep making like a digging analogy. You can dig through dirt pretty easily with just a shovel, but once you actually hit stone or something, you got to switch your tools. You got to come at it with a different approach. You got to hit something from a different angle to make sure it's still working. So if you're making considerable gains, what you're doing is working, go hard, keep going. The real test to, I think, how much progress a lifter is going to make is when he hits a plateau. When you reach a point where your gains are now slowing down, potentially even completely being halted, and you've got to look at yourself objectively and with no fucking bias and say, okay, am I really doing everything I can right now? And odds are that you've got some fucking gaps in your armor, and you can fill those up and get your training routine a little bit better. Get a little bit more sleep. Carry around a fucking gallon jug with you on the daily. Fill it up with some electrolytes. Really maximize your fluid intake. If you go take a piss and it's yellower than you think is probably a healthy color, yeah, guess what? Looks like that. Let me guess here. Looks like that diet Mountain Dew that you had in the morning didn't cut it for your day's hydration. So just little shit like that, right? I think the biggest factors, I mean, the ones that I care about the most, which actually determine how I feel on my day-by-day lifts, probably one of the top ones is going to be sleep, but it's almost they're kind of even. I think sleep and hydration are probably the top dogs in terms of how you're going to feel. Because if you're not well rested, dude, you're going to feel like shit. You're going to be extra tired, extra lethargic. You're just not going to be having any fun. And if you're dehydrated, then that's going to be especially the case because your odds are you're totally going to have a headache because your fluid's equilibrium between your brain and the rest of your body is off. Fluids make up your actual pump, so your lift is going to be shit because you're not going to be as pumped because you're not full of everything. Your fucking pathways of oxygen, what's the word I'm thinking of here? Like being able to fucking get oxygen to every party is going to be a little bit slower because you don't have the optimal amount of fluids. I mean, it's not ideal. So if you can get all these little things outside of your training, outside of the gym in order, then that's just not even like a distraction, but literally you're just giving yourself buffs to when you're actually doing the lifts. It's like when you go to the gym, you're SEAL Team 6. You're fucking on it. You're on your shit. You're literally in the process of completing your mission. But SEAL Team 6 isn't going to be able to do jack unless they've got their recon team giving them intel, setting up this mission and everything else. So that's where, outside of the gym, you've got a fucking responsibility to get everything in order. And then you don't have to worry about fucking like, oh, dude. Like you're warming up and you already feel like shit because you got 4 hours of sleep. Like you don't have to deal with that kind of stuff because you're already totally prepared and you're just in a state which is going to be the most likely that you'll have an awesome lift. So I kind of lost my train of thought there. But the guys who can somehow look at themselves, look at their routines, and say, okay, what am I missing here? What am I really missing? What are the guys who are doing better than me doing that I'm not doing in terms of my fucking outside the gym routine that I can optimize and that I'm willing to do to get closer to the goals that I have specifically? And I don't mean I mean like you, like whoever, right? So that's not rhetorical. Of course, if the primary goal is gains, then everybody should be getting fucking 8 hours of sleep, perfectly timed, you know, 100% grass fed, organic, zero microplastic meals and everything else. There's no, you're probably not going to be able to reach perfection, but you can definitely do it a bit better than you are now. And that's what I'm trying to do at all fucking times because this is my shit, man. So whatever I can do outside the gym, it's going to improve the training, improve the quality, improve the rate of progress, and then honestly just improve my fucking subjective state of being and how I feel. Then I want to do it, you know. So don't. This is one thing I can say for sure. Never get too comfortable and never get too confident in the routine that you're doing this very moment, because odds are it's not as good as you could be doing it, you know? And I don't think of that as a bad thing. I don't think of that as like, oh, well, my training's never going to actually be totally perfect, so why bother? I haven't been taking my creatine, who cares? I haven't been taking my vitamins, whatever. I still feel fine. Come on, man. Are you serious? Are you joking? Ugh, no. So that's my main point there. Right? The things which may be kind of generally considered kind of chore, just hassle-ish, that real meatheads are doing outside of the gym. That's why they get to have the most fun in the gym. So if you can somehow become a little more lifterish in your day-to-day life, I can guarantee you're going to have more fun when you take your pre-workout, walk through the gym doors, and get ready to throw some weights around. So that's my ending point there. Cardio in the morning. I got a big ass road trip tomorrow with the family. Ooh, that's not ideal. I'm gonna try to get a crazy amount of sleep in the car. But I will see you tomorrow for chest at a totally new gym. I have no idea where. So I guess we'll both find out then.